As you see, our mission is to elevate OT cybersecurity from art to a science to an engineering discipline. Okay, a little bit about ISA. We're a professional engineering society. We're kind of a corner case, hidden organization focused on automation engineering. Nobody really noticed us for a long, long time. It was started in about 75 years ago by a couple of boiler maintenance fellows who wanted to standardize the calibration of pressure and temperature sensors so they stopped blowing up boilers. So today we've published over 150 standards ranging from HMIs, flange standards, and alarm management, which is important. So we do education, help sharpen the saw for the engineers, do certification of technicians, publications, conferences. And in 2007, I was hired and we stood up a conformity assessment program to assure conformance to standards. After the 9/11 event, a group of forward-thinking engineers started the ISA 99 committee, which eventually published 15 standards and going on OT cybersecurity. They recognized that bad guys could tinker with systems, as was pointed out by some of the other speakers, and cause disruptions. In building automation systems, I think that if you turn off the life safety systems, fire detection and prevention, the fire marshal would probably say that you can't use that building. So there's a lot of things that can happen just in the building space with that. The 62443 series of standards are the most referenced standards in the NIST cybersecurity framework. And it was published as a technical horizontal, meaning that it's a standard that addresses technology. It's not sector specific. It can be used across sectors. So in 2021, the International Electrotechnical Commission, the IEC, designated 62443 as a technical horizontal standard. That means that as the different sectors, water, wastewater, electric, what have you, as they publish their standards, when they get to the topic area on security, cybersecurity, they're directed to start with 62443 standards rather than make a whole bunch of parallel and duplicate cybersecurity standards. So, and the approach would be to put together a sector security profile, which is basically an application usage guide that says, here's how you use these standards for our domain space. Today, we're working with another organization called Building Cybersecurity, and we've developed a specification that would be used for assessing the as-built systems that are in the building automation sector. That'll be available. They're doing some prototype evaluations of buildings right now, but the formal program will be available early next year. The standard's being used in medical devices, the electric power sector. The DOE is funding the development of a sector profile, starting with substations and working into power generation, distribution automation, and distributed energy resources. It's also been adopted by the maritime sector. So there's two standards to address cybersecurity of onboard ship systems, and those go into effect January of next year. And the railways are using them as well, the zones and conduit model. So we've been certifying products since 2010. 2011 was the first certificate issued. We were way ahead of the market. We didn't do very many certifications early on. There just wasn't enough incentive to do it. It was voluntary adoption. There's no regulation driving it like a NERC SIP. But the standards certifications have really started to take off now. The 62443 is being picked up and referenced in regulatory language. And so our program, we use a network of highly regarded ISO 17065 accredited certification bodies. They're the best of the best in the world. We have 10 certification bodies on board. They're big ones. They have like 20,000 employees and more. If you add up all the employees from the different bodies, it's about 200,000. So we've been certifying the commercial off-the-shelf products since 2010, 2011. In December of this past year, we issued an IIoT, industrial IoT product certification. So we're doing devices and gateways. We have a study that's ongoing now to look at the full technology stack for IoT. Buildings are probably the most connected of anything to cloud providers. And so we'll do a certification that involves cloud providers all the way down to sensors, actuators. So certifications available today, IIoT components, other components, the standard defines components. There's 4 categories: application software, network devices, embedded devices, and host devices like Linux and Windows workstations. So pretty much everything falls into that. It's a roles-based standard, so it has 15 sections. There's a few sections that are for suppliers and manufacturers. There's a few sections for system integrators and service providers, and a few sections for the asset owner operators. We're now looking at them and we see there's a missing role, which is cloud provider. And the cloud provider can have 4 or 5 roles with that. There's like SCADA and control systems in the cloud, there's reporting systems, there's just hosting. So that's being considered as we speak. So certifications require conformance for product suppliers. It requires conformance to a security development lifecycle standard. So the suppliers their development practices are assessed and they need to conform to this 4-1 standard that has 8 practice areas in it. Things like secure by design, testing and validation, playbooks for addressing the vulnerabilities that are found and communicating to your customer, that sort of thing. It's not a once and done certification, so you get products certified, and then there's a maintenance of certification. You know, as you do go through version releases or patches, assumes that your products are under configuration management, and all these processes are done in a controlled fashion. So these are the 2 new certifications coming out: the IoT system security, which includes a cloud provider, and the site security assurance. Like I said, it's going to come out Q1 of next year. There's 2 versions of it. One is specific to building automation technology, and the other is going to be specific to production facilities. So this standard and the certifications will be able to be morphed to address other sectors. So that'll be our baseline certification. We can use it for transportation, water, wastewater, other sectors. So this is just the timeline for our building automation product certifications. We started the certifications in 2010. In 2016, I recognized that the building automation was an important dimension of our everyday lives, and it's probably something we should be looking at. So we did a study to determine applicability of the 62443 standards to building automation. We had companies like Johnson Controls, Siemens, Honeywell, others, some asset owners. They all contributed. Today, their consortium that develops and oversees this conformity assessment program. It started with a lot of the oil companies and process automation providers. Today we have the building automation providers have added in Johnson Controls, Carrier Corporation, Honeywell, Schneider Electric, all the majors. We're adding Train. Products have been certified by many companies, all the ones I mentioned, Otis Elevator. So we're developing a pretty good footprint in this in this sector. So I'm not going to repeat here. So one key thing with the demand levers for certifications, typically it's either a regulation or it's written into procurement specs. So an owner investor, requires the products that are being installed be secure, or insurance companies like with cars. And so we're partnered with this organization, Building Cybersecurity. They're working with the customer-facing dimensions of this certification. They're working with Aon, an insurance company, to provide insurance incentives for owner investors of buildings to have their building automation systems secure. They have 4 levels of security. The standard itself defines 4 levels, and so we've applied the standard's 4 levels to what makes sense for the building automation systems. So that's unique. There isn't any laws or regulations yet, but that's the demand lever for it. Let's see. Yeah, see, these are some of the supporters. We picked up Amazon Web Services, so they were interested because of the cloud provider dimension of our certifications coming out. But you can see the, let me go back one, yep. I won't go into detail on this, but these are the standards, and they're organized by role. So the standards are organized role-based, product suppliers, integrator, service providers, and asset owners. So you see the 3 big boxes, and next year I'm probably going to add a box called cloud provider. And the standards committee is doing the same. We've partnered with a bunch of companies to develop the studies and reports for how to apply the standards. And based on our studies, they're all published publicly. There's lots of links to great information. It's on my last slide. These slides will be available to everybody. Let's see what else. I'm not going to go into the value of certification, but just some more details. We use, it's a button-down program. These are accrediting authorities. So these independent accrediting authorities use our recipe for accrediting and the qualifications of assessors, et cetera. And then they accredit the certification bodies. And one of the things you'll notice, one of them is FM Approvals. They're a subsidiary of FM Global, which ensures big assets, particularly in the manufacturing industry. So as they start developing their portfolio of certified products and systems based on our standard, that'll be a basis for them qualifying companies to have their products insured. So there's 4 levels. I mentioned that. We're recommending that companies certified at level 2 or higher. Level 1 is like inadvertent cyber incidents. Level 2 is the first level at which you're protecting against intentional attacks. So we're collaborating with a lot of organizations. North American Transmission Forum is one. Logic, it's Oil and Gas Consortium. Building Cybersecurity, and OPAF. This is just a list of companies that have had products certified. So, it's a who's who. ABB, Osbil, Carrier, Cisco, Eaton, Emerson, GE, Generac joined recently. They haven't certified yet, but they're going to. Hitachi, Honeywell, Rockwell, you can see them all. This is what we certified last year. The left side is their security development life cycle. Some of these companies have multiple sites certified, some are global, some are in the recertification process to maintain their certs for their development. And then system level certifications in the middle. These tend to be bigger, more expensive, and then components on the right. You can see Johnson Controls, Honeywell, and some others. So there's the resources. So I oversee 4 consortiums, the Security Compliance Institute, ISA Global Cybersecurity Alliance, which is doing promotion of the standards and developing training material, education, etc. So anything that related to cybersecurity for building automation and just automation in general, you can find here. So that's it.